What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Good Game Reviews. Here to do another game review, and we have the final score of the Houston Texans Patriots game. We have 20 Patriots, 27 Texans. I think the name of the game is speed. We saw a lot of that today. We knew we were going to see a lot of that from the wide receivers and from the tight ends, but for some reason, it still managed to get away from him at times. I'm going to go ahead and touch on some of the good things. I like to start off with the good things. I'll go back to, some of the, more frustrating things, but I'm going to start off with the good things right now. One good thing is I'm going to put the spotlight on Cam Newton only because he managed to keep the ball safe. Again, this is the one thing I just one out of Cam Newton. I want you to give the offense some chances and keep the ball safe. Now, there were times where, he had some bad throws, some balls in the dirt. But for the most part, he did pretty all right. He was 26 for 40, had 365 passing yards, averaged 9.1 through the air. Had a passing touchdown and a pass rating of 102. So I really can't, say too many negative things about him. It wasn't one of those games where he turned the ball over, and that was the reason, why the Patriots found themselves in bad positions. He pretty much did what he could to move the ball down the field. Now, do I wish he would have did a little bit more with his legs? Yes, he only had 6 rushing yards. But I mean, hey, he made up for that, by trying to get the ball through the air, and especially with that pass to Damien Harris. I don't know who you give more credit to. Do you give more credit to Cam Newton on the touchdown pass, or do you give more credit to Damien Harris on the catch? Because it was a really good catch by Damien Harris. Speaking of Damien Harris, he finished the game with 7 targets, 6 receptions, and 132 yards with a touchdown. Obviously, they were leaning on Bird this game. He's pretty much the fastest guy out there on the field. So the Patriots, they were gonna use him to take advantage of the Texans' weak secondary, and I thought, maybe they were gonna do that a little bit more. We saw Dante Moncrief come in for a little while, and he got a nice reception for 15, and he was pretty much, he pretty much just walked out after that. He wasn't injured or anything. They just pulled him out after that play. But I wish I could have saw a little bit more from him, because other than that, it wasn't really a lot for them to lean on. So, kudos for Damien Harris, putting up, the numbers that he put up today. But, you just wish you could have got a little bit more out of your other players. James White is also a bright spot, 6 receptions, 64 yards. You just wish you could have got a little bit more, out of some of your other wide receiver options. For the defense, not really a lot to give credit to, other than I'm going to go ahead and group everybody in on this one as a whole. The rushing defense, I will give credit to that. They limited the Texans to some pretty low numbers in terms of rushing. Of course, Deshaun Watson is the leader in rushing. He had 36 yards on 6 attempts. But other guys, Duke Johnson, only 15 yards on 10 attempts. CJ Proze only 4 yards on 3 attempts. So they pretty much they did what they could against those running backs. They did. We knew that the Texans, one of their weaknesses was the running game, and we wanted to see how well the Patriots D-line was going to do against these guys. Even though they did well last week, we wanted to see how they would do well against the Texans, seeing that they didn't have any running backs. And based on that, we would see, okay, was this just a fluke, or can anybody just run on them? That's what I think what a lot of people were looking at, and I think they were satisfied with that. taking care of those running backs. So there you have it on that. As far as you know, getting off the field on certain drives, I wish they could have did a little bit of a better job on that. Obviously, penalties pretty much killed them in this game. They had 7 penalties, which was pretty much the most that they had all season. They have to do a better job on that. There was a lot of third and long situations that I feel like they could have probably got off the field. They allowed the Texans to move down the field too easily in this game. So, but other than that, I will give them credit in terms of, stopping the run, and limiting what the running backs were able to do. Because we know that's been a weak spot for the Patriots all season. Now, let's go ahead and get into the bad. First off, I want to start with Damien Harris. Now, I'm not going to put the blame on Damien Harris in this game. Obviously, when he's your only guy who's really able to run the ball, it kind of makes it harder for you to, move down the field sometimes because they see him come in and it's like, okay, we know who we're going after. He had 11 carries for 43 yards, only averaging 3.9. And he had a touchdown, but still, he wasn't able to get going on the ground, and I think that's more based on play calling than it would be on Damien Harris' effectiveness. It just seemed like a lot of weird, we're gonna do this toss, and sometimes it makes more sense if it's a short and third situation. I believe it makes more sense just to try to gut it up the middle instead of always trying to go out to the edge, because the Texans were sniffing that out the whole time and they weren't falling for it. So I felt like if it's 3rd and 1, you got your fullback, you got Damien Harris, go through the middle, see what happens. You're pretty much going to get that first down. It's Damien Harris. Come on, just push it through the middle. But that's how that shook out. Speaking of the running games, running back Rex Burkhead left early with the injury, knee injury. He didn't come back. We have to see what that spells out. They had to bring out the cart, so not a good look. Might be missing him for a while. You get Sony Michel back. He was inactive this game, but you finally get him back, and now maybe he can contribute and step in where Rex Burkhead was able to produce for the Patriots. Now that seems like Sony Michel is pretty much going to take over those roles, because it's looking like Rex Burkhead might miss some time with that knee injury. As far as the receiving options in this game, I like to put the spotlight on these wide receivers this game. Now, Jacoby Myers, what it seems to me was the game plan was just to shut down Jacoby Myers. I think a spotlight's pretty much been put on him, based on how well he's been doing these past few weeks. So, the Texans pretty much had the game plan where, what we would see teams do to like Julian Edelman is, okay, we're just gonna shut this guy down. We're just gonna get surround this guy and make sure that Cam Newton has to look at other options, to throw the football to. We saw N'Keal Harry get a really big uptake in terms of targets. 8 targets this game, but only 5 receptions for 41 yards. So, it just goes to show you how well they were at stopping what Jacoby Myers was able to do. Jacoby Myers only had 38 yards in this game. They just really found a way to make him ineffective in this game. So yeah. As far as the defense goes, now I harped on this a little bit earlier, but not being able to get off the field on these 3rd and long situations. I think it was at one point there was a 3 and 10, and they just picked it up with ease. They Deshaun Watson was able to hit Will Fuller for a first down, and it seemed like a lot of that was just happening through the game. Just Will Fuller, Will Fuller, Will Fuller. Sometimes Brandon Cook, sometimes Atkins. They was just hitting. It just seemed like they was able to get the ball to everybody. I mean, you look at the Texans, and three guys had over 80 yards in this game. Brandon Cooks had 85. Jordan Atkins had 83. Will Fuller had 80. It just seemed like they could not get off the field because it just seemed they was letting the Texans offense just converting all of these downs. It was all these long down situations, long and 2, long and 3, and they just couldn't get off the field. And you see, some of these drives where it just seemed like they would get down the field, and if they didn't score a touchdown, they scored a field goal. If they didn't, they kept the ball so long that they just end up punting the ball away. And now, okay, Patriots, you have this much time. Let's see what you can do on offense. So even though it says the Patriots won the time of possession, it certainly didn't feel like it, because it felt like the Texans had the ball, way more times than the Patriots had the ball. And they were able to consistently move down the field with the ball and, find ways to score. And that was pretty much the name of the game. Jason McCourty was just getting absolutely bullied this game. I felt like a lot of corners were getting bullied this game, but more so, Jason, it just seemed like he just can't, he's just a step behind, almost all the time. Jonathan Jones, he gave up the touchdown in the end zone. That one, I would just say that was just a really good route, on the Texan side, but it just seemed like the secondary was just getting, bullied throughout the whole game. Especially, in Kyle Duggar's case, where it didn't matter how, how close he was to the tight end. It just seemed like the tight end was catching the ball every single time. So Duggar, I mean, I like him, but this just wasn't his game. It just wasn't the game for him. Speed was obviously on the side of the Texans on this one. And once again, we point to the penalties. 7 penalties in this game. Texans only had 5. It says a lot. You look back at last game where the Patriots didn't have that many penalties compared to what the Ravens had, and you look at this game. This is a team where you can't afford to make mistakes, and it's not just turning over the football, but it's also getting off the field on these long down situations and not racking up a lot of penalties. Patriots are known this season for having the least amount of penalties, and in certain games that's how they was able to pull away with the win, because they weren't shooting themselves in the foot. But when you can't get off the field, you can't stop these long down situations, and then you're getting all of these penalties, just racking up. It makes the day longer for you. So now I will admit there were some things that the refs missed. I think these were on like 2 passing touchdown plays where there was holding on the offense, but they just, the refs, I guess they didn't see it. So it worked against the Patriots on this one. But I mean, hey, what can you do? That's how it went. That was the game. There was a lot of situations where, the Patriots could have, extended their drives, but hey, these penalties, and you can point at the play calling as well, but just a lot of mistakes all around. Patriots just shooting themselves in the foot on both sides of the ball. Just didn't make any sense. I wish I could, point out some other things, but really that was pretty much the name of the game. Just the speed of the Texans, mixed with, the Patriots' ability to not get off the field in time, and what should have been an easy win for the Patriots ends up being, one of these close losses that we've just kind of, grown accustomed to seeing this season. Yeah. So some good things to pull away from this game, but also it's clear that the Patriots still need more speed, and going up against some of these mobile quarterbacks, you have to be able to contain them. I know they did a good job against Lamar Jackson. We did have the weather, to kind of help in that regard. The quarterbacks weren't really running around in that game on neither side, but they found a way to do a good job against him. And even in this game, while Deshaun Watson didn't have a lot of rushing yards, he didn't have as many as Lamar Jackson did. Lamar Jackson had something in the 50s. He only had like 36 yards in this game, Deshaun Watson. But it was just the ability for him to keep moving. That's what was killing him. The ability for him to just keep running around the field, going from side to side, dodging, defensive back. Dodging people on the defensive line, running over defensive backs like he did Devin McCourty to get the touchdown. Just things like that. And you're going to have even a bigger task when you go against the Cardinals next week, because it's not going to stop with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is pretty much going to do the same exact thing. And this is a guy who is, pretty much pretty much just like Deshaun Watson, a guy who can move around, can throw outside the pocket, a guy who can keep things alive with his feet and push the ball down the field because he has the receivers to do so. So, just another thing for them to have to, worry about. And hopefully they can use this game as a learning experience and, go into next week and find a way to contain Kyler Murray. But that's easier said than done. Yeah. That's pretty much all I got for this game. Like I said, next week, Patriots have the Arizona Cardinals, and I would, can't wait to see that matchup. Kyler Murray, Cam Newton. Let's see what happens. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, I'm out.